Let's see if we can get to the bottom of the Pokemon Sword and Shield shiny mystery, because there's been a lot of disagreement about the actual shiny hunting odds inside the games. Now, this video is going to cover everything we think we know about shiny hunting, so it would really help if you share this video with everyone that you can and leave a like as well. That way we get all the information that people need to know about shiny Pokemon, since it gets pretty crazy. So we have this big old Reddit post that pretty much covers everything about the odds and information from the initial data mine about these shiny encounters. So what it looks like is that as you build a chain, you get a better chance of getting shiny odds depending on how many Pokemon you've battled. It's kind of crazy, but that seems to be in direct conflict with information that we got from the Pokemon Company. And this post came out before this post, but after this post. So what happened was, we saw this, like, alright, shiny hunting looks pretty crazy. Then the Pokemon Company was like, nah, they explicitly state, you don't need to find these Pokemon consecutively. So I think they saw this information, and it feels like the Pokemon Company had to just be like, no, you're all wrong, there's no chaining involved, it's just, these are your odds of getting shiny Pokemon flat, depending on how the battling goes. But then after that, people were like starting to grow weary of that method, like, wait a second, it's taking me several thousand encounters to find a shiny Pokemon, that doesn't seem accurate. So then more posts like this keep popping up, and it feels like every day, there's a couple of people that are like, wait, is it the data mine? How does the shiny chaining work? Do we even have odds or something? And then there's even more information going around. Huge PSA to shiny hunters, stop doing the number battle method. Despite the article by Pokemon, it seems that the code is bugged to only give you better odds 3% of the time at best. So it seems like there's a bug going on to where this isn't even accurate because a chain doesn't even help you. Pokemon Company says there isn't any chaining, and then people are still talking about this. However, I still think that this is misinformation, and we're going to be going into it. So there's a lot of people that are just kind of riding off of Joe Merrick. Joe Merrick is shutting down other people. However, do we trust the official sources? And data miners have gotten it wrong in the past. Like, there's still a lot of information we don't know about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. They were supposed to be, like, the more Pokemon that you caught inside of Pokemon Let's Go, the better rewards that you get. Like, if you caught 3,000 Pokemon, you're supposed to get a rare candy instead of just, like, a Pokemon candy or a regular berry. You're supposed to get, like, rare candies and golden berries at the end of an encounter, but that didn't happen. And there was also some other discrepancies about the actual shiny odds in those games as well. So, I mean, we left Pokemon Let's Go with a ton of mysteries, and now we go straight into Pokemon Sword and Shield, not fully understanding what is going on as well. So, if we go to the Pokemon Company, here's what we have. At least one brilliant Pokemon may appear. Then we have brilliant Pokemon with 1.3 times the likelihood, 1.6, 2x, and then it just starts going into shiny odds as well. And then fishing for brilliant Pokemon is another big one to keep an eye out for. So 0 to 2, brilliant Pokemon may appear, then brilliant Pokemon have a 1.3, 3.3, 6.6, and 16.6. So the only chaining that is explained by the Pokemon Company to exist is going to be fishing. And it's just about consecutively, no matter which species appears. So this is just chain fishing as we've seen in the past. You hunker down in one spot, you keep going, and then that's going to be it. But the thing is, it seems like you can also move around. If you keep getting bites and defeating your catches, you'll start finding more and more brilliant Pokemon. But beware, if you fail to reel in a Pokemon, or if you catch a Pokemon, run away, or leave the area, or turn off your game, the chain will break. So it just seems like leaving the area, so you can actually like move around instead of just staying in the same spot, seems a bit more forgiving, and that means you can maybe bounce around the wild area and get these extra chances. For my testing, even though the brilliant aura spots still seem to be kind of rare. Like, I was walking around, it felt like I was seeing more brilliant spots. So, I mean, there's still a lot more testing that needs to be done. I feel like there's an over-reliance of the data mine in the Pokemon community right now. The people just see that, they commit to it, and they don't test anything. We also had something else happen with the Ultra Shiny. Ultra Shiny aren't any more rare, and because of data mine, people got the wrong impression about them being more than they are, and then clickbait and all kinds of other crazy stuff like that happen. But here's the numbers that we need to pay attention to, because we have this from Frosty Chemist. Just notice that brilliant odds seem to align perfectly with the percent on the shiny odds page. The number battled doesn't align, but oftentimes arrays of coding don't work like you think at first glance. Is it possible this could be the true meaning of the code? And it actually lines up perfectly. So what we have here is 1.3, 1.6, and then 2x. But if we go down here, 1.5 to 3x. So what this suggests, and also has the same cutoff points in the exact same way, that at 50 we have 1.6, at 100 we have 2x. So then 100 is going to be 2x, and then 50 is 1.6. So it seems like the base chance of Brilliant Pokemon, which we still haven't heard about. Like, we don't know what the base chance of Brilliant is, but it feels like 1.5 to eventually 3% seems about right. And then where else did we see this 1 to 2 number? Well, that's for the chain fishing. So Brilliant Pokemon may appear 1.3, 3.3, 16.6. And then here's where the numbers also get weird, because we have 30% being represented here, 33%, but a plus 25% here. So we have 2, 5, 10, 25. Wait a second. 1.3, that's going to be like 2, and then 16.6 times that 1.5 base percent is 25. And then there's like these weird like multiplications and additions and these other things that we get. And then because of Cerebi, this is why I feel that there's other misinformation that's going around. That, you know, whatever was being posted about, not this, this part right here, this extra 33% because of a chain, this doesn't exist anymore. So people are just like, well, Cerebi says it's only 3% at best, and then that's what's being quoted here, even though this could still be massive amounts of misinformation. But then that's where we go back to Joe Merrick shutting this guy down. That's not perfect alignment, but it is perfect alignment. We just saw the numbers. There's a couple of weird things, but it would explain everything if we're misinterpreting, because that's just the Pokemon community. We see familiar things, but Game Freak might have changed it up. We see chaining, so we're like, oh, shiny chaining, because that's been in like every game, right? But no, the chain could represent something else like chain fishing, which doesn't have anything to do with shiny Pokemon, and then all these numbers just get conflated together, and then we get weird tables that don't really mean anything, apparently. And then we've explored this function multiple times. So now we're going to what Joe Merrick has to say about the shiny Pokemon stuff. Wow, Pokemon is actually updated with details on shiny catching and brilliant Pokemon odds. I'm impressed. There's even fish chaining, which none of us clocked onto. So basically what we found here is that about shiny hunting, I'm going to tag a drive in this, we conflated the tables for brilliant aura, fishing, and shiny chances. There's no combo system required for shiny hunting. This sort of thing was what I was talking about pre-launch regarding coverage. We can get data, read it one way, and found out that there's a different way. Ironically, this happened with shiny Pokemon 2 years in a row. Coverage is a process. So same thing happened with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So Joe Merrick was like, alright, we got Pokemon Company, but then he flipped. I've been speaking to the data miners, and seems there's more to it than what TPCI says, and that chain fishing might actually increase your shiny chance, and that there's still a chance of getting shiny rerolls. But we don't see anything about shiny chain fishing with this, so I guess that information kind of fizzled out, or something weird. I've seen the function they shared, and can see why they think this. The discrepancy with TPCI is curious and concerning, so I'll keep checking into it. And then that was kind of like the last update he gave. Now he's just replying to people like, nope, it's wrong. I updated the website, this is right, and this is what you guys can only say. But we know that Cerebi has also been wrong in the past. So the question becomes like, who do we trust? Is this like too much of a coincidence to where it's like, yeah, they do seem to be different, which is what Joe Merrick caught on to, and then he went back on it, and then even after the Pokemon Company, we still have people posting up this. 75% upvoted, so there's still a little bit of doubt and some other weirdness going on. Now, the reason why people are backing this is because of anecdotal evidence, which is what happened with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So we're hearing like all these crazy stories. People in Route 1 try and do some kind of crazy shiny challenge, or just any shiny hunt that goes into the thousands just for a single shiny Pokemon. After 10,000 encounters, for my cotton candy girl, I can finally start playing Pokemon Sword and Shield now. So it took like weeks to get this Pokemon after 10,000 encounters. We're also hearing like other ones. However, even if this was like just flat odds, this is still way over odds. But if it was with Pokemon, you know, at 500, you have a 6 times likelihood, which drops the odds down to like Masuda method levels at 1 in 683. So that means going, you know, 10,000 dry with 1 in 683 odds. Either this person's the unluckiest ever, or something's up. However, you also hear about, like, oh, I just randomly encountered my first Pokemon, and it turned out to be shiny. I don't even have Shiny Charm. So, there's just, like, a chance where it's like, yeah, you have a 1 in 4,000 just popping a random shiny Pokemon, or even with enhanced odds, you can have some very unlucky moments. So, I mean, we're seeing some other stories like that. I'm trying to score around what people are saying, but a lot of people are, like, mostly doing hatches. You know, shiny hatching for my shiny team, got the first one 60 eggs, and within 10 eggs, I got a second shiny. That just seems almost statistically impossible in the beneficial way, so maybe in the inverse, super unlucky, could get really bad like that. 735 eggs, that seems closer to odds. 3,632 resets, but in an older game, so the odds were different. And then just kind of like 147 encounters. So, I mean, that puts us in a really weird position as well. 1,000 revived Mr. Fish. Eggs. So, I mean, I don't know if it's people, like, kind of camping on just the worst case scenarios where it's like, oh man, this guy took 5,000, then this guy took 5,000, this guy took 6,000. Something has to be wrong, but then we're also not hearing as many about, like, the just several hundred encounter. Like, 739 encounter Hone Edge, that kind of seems closer to on odds when you're thinking about, like, the actual Pokemon Company numbers. And then that brings us back to the anecdotal stuff about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, because the shiny hunting odds for that game got astronomically low. All you have to do is catch 31 Pokemon in a row, and then you have 1 in 340 down to 1 in 273, and that's with like up to 10 Pokemon spawning instantly on screen, depending if like you're route resetting or something. But then Joe Merrick defended this to the death, because people are like, hey, why does it take like 1,000 overworld Pokemon for me to find a shiny? Something has to be wrong with the data mine, right? Something has to be wrong with the information. That Pokemon Let's Go is a game where many people have encountered their first Pokemon or have had the fastest multiple shiny captures that they've ever encountered in the Pokemon franchise, but then sometimes just hit weird dry streaks, which like, I haven't found a shiny Pokemon in 2 hours, which is like over 1,000 Pokemon encountered, but the odds should be bottomed out incredibly low, but Joe Merrick defended it. But now I feel like there's a hypocrisy in the inverse, that the Pokemon Company must be wrong because, oh, it feels like shinies are taking longer, therefore the lower numbers from the data mine must be correct. It's some weird stuff going on right now, and even as recently as a few hours ago, people are still talking about this. They have no idea what's going on. If you KO 500 Pokemon species, are the odds permanently increased of finding a shiny, or does it reset? No, it's permanent, but then people are just like linking to Cerebi. So I think it's like one of those things, just because Cerebi says, it must be true. But again, Cerebi has gotten a lot of things wrong in the past, and Joe Merrick, he has a lot of inconsistency. Like, pretty much, I think Cerebi has become way too biased, that Joe Merrick isn't just taking everything straight up anymore, that he's injecting a lot of personal feelings and emotions into it, and that's why we are getting a lot of misinformation sometimes, even coming out of Cerebi, and then people are just like, well, Cerebi says, therefore that is the way, and that it can only be the way, and these are your numbers, and that's how it's going to be. But I think at the very least, shiny hunting in Pokemon Sword and Shield sucks. Like, I thought it was worse in Pokemon Sun and Moon because it's so crazy. Like, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Pokemon X and Y, there were so many really cool shiny hunting methods. You had the shiny chaining with the Poke Radar and the shiny bushes. That was really cool, but you also had chain fishing, which brings your odds down to like 1 in 87 or something insane like that after just like 30 consecutive chain fishes. Like, it was really easy to get shiny Pokemon that way. It's always been Masuda method. There was also a couple of other things that you could do. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the Dex Nav. The Dex Nav was also another weird wrinkle about this, because people are like, oh, you have to chain for the Dex Nav, but no, Dex Nav did not require chaining. Dex Nav only required that you encounter that Pokemon. Now, Pokemon Sword and Shield is a little different because you have to battle it. So with the Dex Nav, if you see a Pokemon run away, that counts as an encounter. With Pokemon Sword and Shield, you have to feint or catch the Pokemon, and then that counts as a battle. And then that's what increases your odds. But Dex Nav had a lot lower. Like, if you run away from 300 Pokemon, it's going to be, like, very, very small chance of increasing your shiny odds compared to fainting 300 Pokemon Sword and Shield. But what it shows is that for, like, months, if not a year, it took people that long to figure out that chaining did not exist in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But this goes back to what I was saying about Pokemon Sword and Shield kind of like being the worst. Like, at least SOS gave you some pretty significant shiny hunting odds back in the 7th generation, but with this, like, your best odds barely beat out the Masuda method. The Masuda method gives you 5 additional rolls, so you actually have to feint 500 Pokemon to get to that, and you're at 3 to 500 before you even get that Masuda odds, and the shiny charm is 100% needed. So if you plan on getting a wild shiny, you absolutely need the shiny charm, but in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you really didn't. You know, shiny rate with lure, no shiny charm, 1 in 300. So I mean, the shiny accessibility was so much better and so much more interesting in Pokemon Let's Go, but now, like, this is ridiculous. Even by all counts, you have to battle, you have to feint 500 of those Pokemon for that species just to have that species. I think it would have been much better if it's like, oh, if you just battle 1,000 Pokemon in general. Like, if they doubled all these numbers and just made it for any species, or even tripled, that'd actually be really cool, because if you've battled 1,500 or 2,000 Pokemon over the course of months Pokemon Sword and Shield, just every Pokemon has a greater chance of being shiny, this is like the least interactive, worst shiny hunting we've ever seen inside of Pokemon. I thought SOS kind of got tired out. The Ultra Warp Ride was crazy, because if you max out the distance on Warp Ride, you can actually bring the shiny odds down to 1 in 5. So that's like the best that we've ever seen inside of Pokemon. So it's weird how they give us all these really cool shiny hunting odds in Let's Go or the Ultra Warp Ride, and then they make it pretty much worthless in the next Pokemon games, which are supposed to enhance competitive Pokemon battling and make it more accessible to have shiny Pokemon, competitive Pokemon, stuff like that, but just ended up not happening. So you need the shiny charm if you plan on doing any wild Pokemon encountering, but the Masuda method is just going to be better anyways, unless you're doing like Eevee and you're trying to get all of the shinies for Eeveelutions or something, and then you like get a wicked 500 Eevee chain, which is still going to be pretty difficult because Eevee is a rare Pokemon that only spawns in like 1 to 5%, depending if you have Pokemon Sword or Pokemon Shield version. Now, this actually states that if you encounter a Pokemon, that Pokemon becomes slightly more common. So I wonder if that's like another thing about these weird numbers that don't add up, like the stray 30% or something, that if you encounter a Pokemon... Actually, where's the table? What if this extra 33% is actually like the chance enhancement of a Pokemon after you've encountered it or something like that? Because if you battle a Pokemon, then that starts a chain of encountering the Pokemon, but it doesn't do anything for shiny odds or brilliant odds or anything like that. At least in overworlds and not shiny. It's too weird. It's too weird, and maybe the game is bugged, and it is 3%, but we haven't seen a patch, and I feel like the Pokemon Company might have been onto that we have seen patches for weird things that were accidental glitches or bugs inside the games, such as the gender. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think from Generation 4 to Generation 7, the gender odds were off by 1 because there was an off by 1 error. So instead of it being 12.5% chance to have a female starter Pokemon, it was actually like 11.8 or something weird. So that would happen for all of the shiny rates, but in Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, when this became known through the datamine, it ended up being fixed. So there's a lot of things that were wrong in Pokemon that ended up being fixed because of datamine, and I'd imagine that wouldn't be that much of an issue to patch out, and we've seen like version 1.1 of a Pokemon game, 3DS era, get a patch within weeks of launch. So I mean, if this was a significant issue, I'd imagine that the Pokemon Company would want to have this information be correct, and it would be on the way to being patched, or there would have been some kind of update or something about that. So we're not getting great communication from Pokemon. I don't think that's anything about, oh, Game Freak's lazy, and that's an issue with Pokemon Sword and Shield. No, it's always been this way. But I'm going to trust the information that we have here because people are still getting low encounters, like the Honedge, like some of these other ones where it's like, yeah, 500 to 1,000 wild encounters for shiny Pokemon. That makes sense, but you should just be Masuda methoding anyways because that's going to be the best for you. So 1,000 eggs, over odds, unlucky. It's weird. So it seems like as Pokemon games get more and more complex, the data mine gets less and less reliable, and then we rely on that data mine, and then we don't try to figure anything else out as a community, and it's a lot of the content creators as well. Like I talked about with the people, like the misnaming of Ultra Shiny, it's all about the clickbait, it's all about the high views, it's not about the responsibility of getting proper information out there. That people that claim to be shiny masters, or that they understand this better than other people, they show consistently that they don't know more than anyone else, and they just kind of rely on information that has been incorrect in the past and might be incorrect again. And I do think it is worth mentioning that since Joe Merrick is shutting out people that are trying to go against his precious data mine, this is something that we saw with Ram Theory in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and Joe Merrick's behavior is kind of the same. Like, he made these tweets about it, but he's just like, yeah, I've seen it, I'm gonna just go with the data mine, but we don't have any explanation behind the data mine. Even from the data miners, even from all these things, now Joe Merrick's like, nah, you're wrong because... just because. This is what it is. We don't have explanation of it. We don't know exactly how it works, or at least we haven't been given a detailed explanation about how it works, or any testing into it working. It's just data mine, that's it, GG. Oh, the only thing that explains why it's wrong, there must be a bug. Even though we couldn't really explain why there's a bug or how the bug is interacting, there must be a bug, that must be it. And the funny thing is, Joe Merrick said, I will not rest until I get to the bottom of this. You know what he did? He rested, and then he never got to the bottom of this. He never updated. The guy said like this was a hoax, but at the same time, he got massively bullied by the Pokemon community because Joe Merrick said so. And he could have still been right. Like, if he made it up, like, that was one of the defense I used in this video. So it's not like, oh, man, Verlisify is finally admitting he's wrong after a year. It's like, no, there was a lot of weird things going on, but he could have had, like, a random guess that turned out to be true, and then Joe Merrick never investigated, and we never found out as to what's going on, as to why it feels different. So I think the same thing is going on right here, that since all these other alternative ideas are being shut down, we aren't able to explore any other reasons as to why this feels funky. And I think we just need to kind of keep waiting around as a community. As more information comes in, as more data comes in, as more people are shiny hunting, it might line up with the numbers or the odds, or maybe there would be a patch and it turned out that there was something wrong the entire time, and then shiny hunting will feel a little better, but it's still going to be worse than like hatching eggs, unless there's a massive patch, because that's way too much work. And I do find it interesting, and I don't think that's a coincidence, that as we see the Pokemon community degrade more and more, we're seeing more clickbait, more false information, more fake leaks, more misinformation. Joe Merrick, I feel, has really gone off his rocker the last 2 years or so. As well as this is starting to all fall apart, we are now seeing things that have never happened in the Pokemon community. You know, there was disagreement over the shiny odds in Let's Go. We didn't have that throughout the 6th or 7th generation because we worked as a community to figure these things out and get rough odds. Like, yeah, there were still times with Pokemon Sun and Moon that we didn't have the most clear odds for SOS, because I think it turned out that like after 80 of an SOS combo, then that's when you start getting like maxed out odds, and we don't know the in-betweens too well. And then, like I said, for the chaining, it did take a little bit longer to understand that for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, but that's because people were like working to figure these things out, and we still had rough odds. We still had the right idea. But when it comes to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, Pokemon Sword and Shield, it seems like we don't even know what the right idea is. The Pokemon Company stepped in. Like, it feels like the Pokemon Company saw us being so wrong and spreading so much misinformation. They're like, no, this is how it works. Or it's how it's supposed to work, and then something's broken, and we still can't come to an agreement because Pokemon community has fallen apart so much. It's bad, guys. And this is the result of that. I've been saying it for years, but people still villainize me when I'm just trying to seek the truth and honesty. It's broken. So, guys, enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.